Today we are finding out how far the new Audi S6 e-tron Avant can go on a full charge of battery at a constant 120 kph or 75 miles an hour. Despite this being the most sporting version of the new A6 e-tron and the less aerodynamic version since it's the wagon, I still have very high expectations for this car. This being the next generation of EVs from Audi and it boasting a usable battery capacity of 94.9 kilowatt hours, this should offer serious real-world range even on the motorway. So let's find out just how much range it offers. Just a quick reminder guys, the first week of April I'm flying down to Spain to do warm weather summer testing of the Volvo EX90, Polestar 3, Polestar 4, Audi Q6 e-tron and hopefully the Audi A6 e-tron. The plan is to fly down now in April because the weather is going to be warm. We're going to have similar temperatures now there than we have here in Norway in Oslo in June or July. So I can bring these videos to you guys as early as possible. So this is a self-funded trip, me flying down there for a week and also bringing a videographer to not only film to make the content as good as possible, but also to drive the other cars. So we can do direct comparisons, for example, do a direct range test between the EX90 and Polestar 3 or the Polestar 4 and the Audi Q6 e-tron. So this is a self-funded trip. It's going to cost a lot of money to fly me and a videographer and stay down there for a week. And this is not a vacation. It's going to be 1 week of intensive testing. Somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 12 videos is the plan to film. So somewhere between 2 and 3 videos per day. And that plus editing. Yeah, that's about 2 weeks of work crammed into 1 week. So if you really enjoy the content I make here and you want to support the channel and this trip, there is a GoFundMe down below. Our goal is 20,000 kroners. I think we're soon there. We're like at 75 or 80%. So if you like what I do and you want me to continue making these videos, posting these, videos on electric cars like 3 to 4 times a week as I've been doing the past few months, then you can support this trip by contributing to the donations. 5 euros, 10 euros, whatever amount you want to give is much appreciated. Or you can hit that thank you button below this video and donate there. So guys, I really do appreciate all the support and all the donations and contributions from you guys. So let's keep it going on strong in 2025 and grow the channel. So guys, thank you very much. On with the video. If you've been following the channel the past few weeks, I've driven a lot of cars with ADAS issues. So that is issues with the advanced driver assistance systems like adaptive cruise control, auto steer, pilot assist, autopilot, ICC, whatever marketing term you want to use. The system that centers the car in the lane while driving on a motorway and, avoids traffic and avoids accidents and other cars so you don't get into trouble. Well, it started about a month ago or more than a month ago when I drove the BYD C-Line. That car's advanced driver assistance systems were quite terrible. Actually, the car threw me into the guardrail, so check that video out. And then the week after I had the Seal. Not a lot better, but I'd learned my lesson with the BYD, so I turned off the auto steer functionality. And then I drove the Tesla Model Y on this stretch of road where it is better than it was before, but still issues with phantom braking. And yeah, not optimal. And then I had the Polestar 4, which has had issues since the car was launched after the summer last year. There have been a few software updates that have fixed, like passing a truck like we are doing now in the left lane, where the car would brake, it would phantom brake, it would hesitate. That car has been improved, but still there are delays with engaging the system. There are oddities, hesitations. It's not smooth. So after more than a month of driving different cars from different manufacturers, produced different places, engineered different places, I'm happy to report that this Audi S6 e-tron Quattro Avant is flawless. So this is built on the PPE platform. So this is the third car to launch. First we had the Audi Q6 e-tron, then we had the Porsche Macan, and then we have this. And the driver assistance systems here are just flawless. No issues at all. It's so confidence inspiring. It holds the lane. There are no, oddities with bouncing in the lane or ping-ponging within the lines. There's no delay to activate. Everything just works smoothly. The system is confidence inspiring. You can steer within the lane. Look at that, guys. The system is still engaged. So you can steer a little bit, it steers lightly, and then if you want to steer more close towards the lines, the steering gets harder. This is how you do ADAS. This is how you do the advanced driver assistance systems. This is how you do adaptive cruise and auto steer, lane centering, whatever you want to call it. This car is an example of how it can work flawlessly. So either Audi have, spent a lot of time engineering this car and waited until it was finished and polished and working 100% before they launched the car, or they just, spend more time and resources. I don't know what the reason is, but it just works flawless. So I'm going to keep on reporting on the ADAS, but I've driven the Q6 E-Tron, the SQ6 E-Tron on this stretch of road, on this platform. I've driven the Porsche Macan also several times, and there hasn't been an issue. So I'm expecting this to go flawless. So the Audi S6 E-Tron Avant. Yeah, this is quite an exciting car. This is possibly the replacement for my personal vehicle, the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. And this is an impressive piece of kit, and I have high expectations for this car today. So towards the end of the video, I'm going to reveal the results of my noise measurement tests that we have started to do in these range tests and compare this to other cars I've also tested. But I have to say, it is relatively quiet compared to a lot of cars, though this car is on huge 21-inch wheels, 275 section tires in the rear. So, it's not the best setup for either efficiency or for quietness or for comfort. But this is on air suspension. Audi's S air suspension or sport air suspension, it is super comfortable. Seating position is nice. I do prefer a wagon to an SUV, and the Audi A6 lineup or the S6 lineup is a lineup that is near and dear to me, and also Audi Avants. I grew up when I was, a teenager. We had two Audi A6s. We had a sedan, and then we had an Avant. I remember me and my dad driving that to the south of Spain, and yeah, just going on a lot of road trips. And also, when my daughter was born, our secondary vehicle was an A4 Avant. So, I grew up on Audis, and I've had several Audis here on the channel and in the past. So maybe it's time for me to move back to Audi, but we'll see. We're gonna see how good this car can perform today. So after about 35 minutes on the road, a little more than 60 kilometers, our average consumption is 23.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which isn't great. I have the results of the Q6 E-Tron and also the SQ6 E-Tron I tested last fall, where that Q6 E-Tron, though on smaller wheels, was done under similar conditions. So far, it's not looking good for this car. I'm expecting this car to perform better than that car, though this is the performance version, and even if it is on 21-inch wheels, this has a lower drag coefficient at 0.24 CD compared to that 0.2 CD and that Q6 E-Tron. But the best car to have here today would, of course, be a Sportback, but I don't think Audi Norway has a Sportback. I'm gonna ask later, but this was the car I was able to get at the earliest. So guys, we're gonna continue on now for about half an hour, and then I'll update you once I get to our turnaround point in Moelv. I'll be doing a full review on this car along with my long trip test and a whole bunch of other videos later in this week. So if you don't want to miss out on my full review impressions of this car and how this performs while taking on a long trip, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a bit. It's completely free for you, and it takes about a second to hit that button down below. But the more subscribers I have, the more launches I will be invited to, and the more early access I will get to cars like these to be able to make videos like this. So I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. It really does help me out a lot. So quickly though, this is such a nice car to drive. The steering is so precise. The body, though it's firm, it's controlled, it's still very comfortable. The cabin is quiet, the seats are good. Yeah, it's just a refined experience, and this is the reason I love German cars. This may not have the prettiest exterior, though I think it is quite good looking. This may not have the nicest interior, but driving wise, there's nothing anywhere in the world that comes close to the refinement, the precision, just the feeling behind the steering wheel of confidence and solidity you get in a German car. This is superb. So we've now turned around, we're headed south, and update halfway. Our consumption has dropped now to 21.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is looking better. But according to the wind map, we do have a crosswind from the west, so hopefully that consumption will stay the same, but I'm crossing my fingers that it will actually drop. We're now approaching our endpoint where we started the range test a few hours ago. And I forgot to mention that this car has the new second generation virtual mirrors that we first saw with the Audi E-Tron 50 and 55 back in like 2018, 2019. I hated those mirrors. These are a little bit better because the screens sit higher, but I'm still not a fan. I think they're really weird to use while you're parking because suddenly there's no, oh, the car braked a little bit late there, but yeah, ADAS has been flawless. Just got me a little bit nervous, but it was showing the car here on the display, but yeah, just waited till the last moment to brake. So we're gonna stop the timer there, 1 hour and 44 minutes. And yeah, so as I was saying, not a huge fan of these, but they have, you know, gotten a little bit better as I've been using the car throughout the day. So we'll see, you know, once I do my review at the end of my test week to see if they're a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So we're now here. We're gonna connect to a charger, and then we're gonna see what charging speed we get after just driving on the road for a few hours. No active preconditioning, no preconditioning through the navigation system. We do that in the long trip test, but this test is all about getting that maximum efficiency, and that means no energy usage to heat up the battery. But we're still going to connect and see, because it is interesting to find out if you don't precondition, if you just stop somewhere, if you forget to precondition. With this car you have to do it via the navigation system. If you forget to do that, what charging speed will you actually get? The charge port is here on the driver's side on the rear 3/4, the DC charging port, but on the right side you actually have an AC charge port, which is really nice. I think I overshot that just a little bit. So I'm not going to reveal the consumption yet. We're going to do that at the end of the video when we do the calculations for the range, but it may be good, it may not be good. So let's hop out and connect to the charger here. Okay, so we've now connected the charger. As I said, the charge port is here on the driver's side, the DC charge port. And this car, if we did, you know, active preconditioning and we arrived with a low state of charge, this car could peak at 270 kilowatts plus. I think like 10 to 80% on this platform is like 21 minutes. And I've tested that extensively in the Q6 e-tron, the SQ6 e-tron, the Porsche Macan. So it should be able to do that. But again, in this test here today, we don't do active preconditioning. So we are right here with 48% stated charge. It's going to be interesting to see if we do get any decent charge speed at all. I mean, the temperature today has been between 9 and 11 degrees Celsius. And yeah, 140. Yeah, so that is to be expected on this platform with these temperatures at this percentage without preconditioning the battery. I don't think that's too bad actually. Now let's take a look at the results of our instrumented measurements of road noise. So in these range tests the past few months, I've started to do proper instrumented testing. I don't have, you know, a cheap app on my phone or one of these handheld devices where you just, you know, do a visual readout and just guesstimate. No, I have my laptop, a proper microphone that is calibrated to my computer and to the software, and then we do a readout over several minutes, and then we have a graph. So one of the most accurate measurements I've seen on any of these channels that do testing like this. So if you like that, yeah, hit that like button down below. But even though I get that graph, I want to do frequency testing because I think that tells a good story, but it doesn't tell the whole story. And I'm going to explain that here in just about a second. So at 80 kilometers an hour, we did 3 measurements for an average of 64 decibels. At 100 kilometers an hour, we did 3 measurements for an average of 65 decibels. And at 120 kilometers an hour, we did 3 measurements for an average of 67.5 decibels. And all of these measurements are done on the same stretch of road for every car, but all of these are done on different stretches. Of course, I'm not looping back. And then they're all done over at least 2-minute intervals each. So we get, you know, a really nice time span here. So that spread of 64 decibels to 67.5 from 80 to 120 kilometers an hour is one of the smallest spreads differences in road noise from 80 to 120 kilometers an hour we tested in any car. That is very, very impressive. So on paper, this car is a little bit more noisy than the Polestar 4, but I don't think that tells the whole story, because especially at 80 and at 100 kilometers an hour with this car, I think the frequencies protruding the cabin are more pleasant, and also the spectrum is a lot smaller. That window of frequencies are a lot smaller. An example of that is that I'm just driving along and then a car passes and you can, hear a little bit of that tire noise, but also a big truck passes and the audible noise is very much the same, and also the readout on the graph is pretty much the same, and that is very, very impressive. So noise in general is very nicely subdued in this cabin. But there are a few oddities. At 120 kilometers an hour, there's some resonance from this car, from the tires or from the rims, that I haven't heard in any other cars or in this car at lower speeds. And this car is on Continental Viking Context 7 studless winter tires, and my car, my private vehicle, my Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo, is on the same tire, and I don't have that same resonance with my car. Though my car is on 20-inch wheels, this is on 21-inch wheels, so it may be that low profile, because the width of my tires, I think they're even wider, like 285s in the rear. So maybe it's the rim here or whatever, but that is something to consider. And also another thing I want to mention is that the Viking Context 7s are some of the most silent tires, period. Like the 7s and the 8s are so quiet. When I changed from Nokian Hakkapeliittas to the Continentals in my Porsche Taycan, yeah, got considerably quiet. So that is something just to note, that this car on different tires, and especially summer tires with these wide and big rims, yeah, you may have a very different experience. Now for the results. So if we take the usable battery capacity of this car, 94.9 kilowatt hours, and then we divide it by the consumption, 21.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and then subtract 3% for heat and discharging losses, that gives us a theoretical range under today's conditions of 430 kilometers. And that is actually phenomenal, and it may be a new record depending on the title of this video. If it's a new record, I'm going to put it in the title. You be sure of that. But the reason I'm not sure is because I don't, have the whole chart in front of me here. And also I've started to divide these tests into different temperature groups. So today is maybe mild weather, and I don't know if the best test I've done falls into that category, because I haven't, started to divide it into those categories yet. We've only had cold weather testing because it has been winter. So either this is number 1 or number 2. And even though if it is number 2, this is still a very different car than it is the number 1. I think that's the EQE 300, which is rear-wheel drive. It's a sedan and it is on small wheels. This is on huge 21-inch wheels. This is a wagon, and also this is the performance version. So either way, that is pretty insane. So I'm excited about this car now. I can't wait to test this car once it gets a little bit warmer. And also imagine this car on 20-inch wheels, this Sportback version, and maybe not the S version, just the Quattro or even the rear wheel drive. Yeah, this car is a proper motorway long distance cruiser, and I can't wait to test this car in my long trip test. This may just set a new record, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to film that in a few days, and maybe if we're lucky, I'm going to, drop that video this weekend, so you guys have a nice video on Sunday. So if you want that, leave a comment down below, leave a like down below, and also subscribe to the channel for more videos. I do appreciate it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.